So much after a while. Then I tell him, you know, I'm in a worry, I'm going over me. You don't know what we have, man. Till him get some cock up on my dog. Peace, like me to the same. Peace, like me to the fire. So now, peace, like me to the same.
Greetings everyone, I'm Ishaka Shango from Unity Studio. I am a creative from Jamaica. While I'm speaking to you today, I am a professional live streamer. I provide professional live streaming solutions for my clients.
From Jamaica.
The topic is how to monetize live streaming in COVID, and there are many ways to monetize live streaming in COVID. For instance, I see persons like gym instructors are monetizing their live stream, which is broadcasting through a Zoom by having persons pay for their Zoom session. You have DJs who are paying or live streaming through platforms like Instagram, Twitch, and various platforms. And either they're getting super chat or they're getting donations through Cash App and all of these various donation platforms. How do I monetize live streaming as a remote live producer? As I can see right now, I'm coming from my studio, UBQT Studios, located in Portmore, Jamaica. I have basically monetized my live streaming skills. You know what I mean? Right now, I am able to do remote live production at the highest quality possible. Since then, I've done many live streams, going through various platforms, Instagram, Facebook, some in Zoom, some webinar stuff also. And it has been great so far, as I can say. I've created this amazing studio by monetizing live stream. So firstly, let's talk about OBS. So OBS, Open Broadcasting Software, is a free software that allows you to basically go into any CDA. So right here, you have what we call scenes. And each scenes are made up of source. That scene intro consists of two sources, and that is what creates that scene. And all scenes are basically the same. It's just you line up the layers to make it work how you want to work. And the reason why you want to have the layers is so you have flexibility and control over it. Now, when I have a scene together, so I have all these 6 scenes, I'm using my stream deck, which is this device. So this device is on the computer, but it's also a physical device. So you notice when I press it, OBS is switching the scene. So right now I press intro, go back to intro. I press OS, it goes to OS. I press flip, it goes to flip. And that's the OBS way of doing it. Now, in order to send OBS out to the world, you have to select settings. You would go to stream. And when you hear me talk about RTMP, which is real-time messaging protocol, this is what the real-time messaging protocol URL is. You need that. So what we are accessing is Instagram server. So Instagram server that the phone, the API, which is application programming interface, will access. We are basically accessing it through this code. Now, this program that you're seeing over here right now, which is what we're using to record this content that we are showing, it's called vMix. So this is my main program that I use because, as I say, I do mainly remote live production, and I'm technically always using a computer. In order to set a stream up, it's very similar to OBS. You click on that cog wheel, and you have these 3 buttons that you can choose to send the stream to simultaneously. If you notice, when I choose right here, it's a Facebook, it shows you all the CDNs. Some of these CDNs you might not even know if you're not part of the broadcasting. These are the 2 programs that I tend to use to broadcast it, but I have supporting programs like this program right over here. It's called Title Alive. So this is the program that I use to put graphics on screen when I'm basically doing a production. And it sends the graphics through a protocol that is called NDI, which is Network Device Interface. And put their title on. I can switch titles when I switch them around. You know what I mean? I have other stuff that I can put on the screen. So if we're talking about a specific topic, or even if I want to bring in comments, I have a button that I can bring in some other form of information and stuff like that. Now, how do I get the stream key for Instagram? So you see this little command prompt that you're seeing at the bottom right here. This is how I access the Instagram API in order to get the stream key. Jump into the Instagram API and fetch the code. Once again, I thanks Jaria for reaching out to me, and I really appreciate that they reached out to me so I can share some of my knowledge about live streaming with basically the audience.
To Jaria's Reggae Open University. It's an initiative from our education committee of Jaria, on the very important topic of monetizing live streams in the time of COVID. Just giving a little tidbit on Jaria. Jaria was established in 2009, a non-profit umbrella organization representing the interests of our music industry, looking to foster, education, economic growth for our industry. As mentioned, representing the interests, mediation if necessary, and just general unification of our industry, especially as it relates to lobbying for things that we need done. My name is Dwayne McDonald. I'm the vice chairman of Jaria, and we just want to thank everyone for giving their time to this meaningful discussion here today. Thank you to Shango as well. You just saw his video going through some of the technical details of how live streams are done, especially from a software perspective. And of course, before that, you saw a few snippets of our Reggae Month concert. The last Jaria in-person concert series. So it was really nice to see that. So thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. I'll now turn it over to the woman who will be steering this discussion, our moderator, a stalwart in our music industry, and someone always willing to give her time. Scarlett Williams. So over to you, Scarlett.
Thank you so very much, Dwayne. You've done such a fabulous job. I feel obsolete, but nevertheless, thank you for the little work, because we all need it in this time. And seeing those Reggae Month clips remind me of when the music industry was great. Not to say it's not great now, but when we were able to be in the front row and the artists flip the sweat and it hit us, boy, do I miss those days. But we are in new days, and there are new opportunities for us to embrace in live streaming, and not just embrace in terms of building our brand and connecting with our fans, but also in terms of monetizing our live stream. So I'm really happy to have this discussion today. And Jaria has put together an awesome panel to help the rest of us understand what the opportunities are, what the pitfalls are, and how it is that we should move through it. So let me start with a son of the soil who currently lives abroad, but we still love him so very much because he's taken the Jamaican flag far and wide. I'm talking about none other than Walshy Fire. Walshy Fire is a producer, is a presenter. I don't want to say jack of all trades because then there's a negative connotation, but when I say multi-talented entertainer in Walshify, he's joining us, and of course has had multiple success in streaming. So we're going to talk to him about how it is that we can learn from him. Also on the panel, we have Johnny Daly. Johnny is joining us because he too has been able to pivot and make money. I hope he's going to tell us some more from live streaming. If you haven't checked out his live series, I encourage you to go over to Facebook and subscribe right now so you can see what it is that he's doing. He's been doing tremendous work, and I do suggest that when you watch it maybe with a tissue so that when you laugh till you cry, at least you can wipe the eye. That would be a good idea to go. Of course, Dwayne already mentioned Shango, who is an extraordinary content creator. He mentioned UBQT, but I like to pronounce it as ubiquity. He's doing so well, and I thank him for that presentation. He's going to be able to give us some more details on how we can make software work for us for monetization. And then, of course, Saeed is joining us from M1 Productions. Saeed is going to talk about the hardware side of the live streaming as well as other technical. Me personally have a list of questions long so for Saeed, so I hope he's ready for it. Now that we've got the gentlemen out of the way, let us move over to the lovely ladies, because we know that can't get it done without the ladies in the picture. I'll start out with Carleen. Carleen, so good to see you. Great to see you. Carly, you see, when I was called a stalwart, I felt like you could replace old with stalwart, right? But when we're talking about stalwarts, we're talking about Carly. Carly looks really young, right? She looks as young as her daughter is, but she has been in the business for a long time and has pioneered productions across the continent, not just in Jamaica. And her content creation skills will help us today. And then the final lady that I want to shout out to is Tara Playfair Scott. Tara Playfair, another woman in the business who is making it happen. Tara does a number of things, but in this capacity today, well, no, we'll pick on her for many things. We'll talk to her about how it is that you market your brand in this age of monetization. And she also has a solution for those of us who want to do some live streaming. So we have introduced the panel. You have seen everyone. And we're going to get straight into the discussion because we do have a lot to talk about in this roughly hour and a half session that we're doing. And then we're going to ask you as the audience to submit your questions. You don't have to wait until the end. Put them in the chat so that as soon as we're ready for the Q&A, we can get to them right away. So we want you to go with the chat. So, beautiful ladies and talented gentlemen, are you ready? Everyone ready? So, Walchi, let me start with you. I do have a question, but before I ask my first question, do you want to frame it for us in a short period of time, how it is that you think that reggae music in particular and Jamaican content creators, everyone from comedians to musicians to gym instructors, how can Jamaican content creators benefit from this new live streaming?
That's a big question. It's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot, guys. That's a lot.
You're good enough.
Well, first of all, big up everybody. Thank you for having me. But yeah, I think that's a big loaded question. And the reason why I say that is because I'm not able to speak for the people who don't have access to things. Access to things is a major part of this conversation. So Wi-Fi, you really can't do much if one of our two amazing companies that do Wi-Fi here in Jamaica aren't providing a great service for you. And also it's not cheap. So, I don't want to ignore the fact that some people will be alienated from this conversation due to whatever economic situation they may be in. And that is a bad thing. That is something that we should try to get everyone up to a standard so that we can then have a conversation of what you do once you're at that standard. So it's a loaded question because, not everyone is going to be able to benefit from the super easy answer, which I'm going to give you right now, which is what can everybody do? Everybody should just get active. And that is doing whatever you can, even if it's just something on your Instagram live where you just walk around and say something. Do something. You cannot win this. You can't even participate in this if you don't do something. And so getting active is key. I think you're muted, yeah.
Yes. There we go. So, thank you very much, Ross. It's true. I put you in the hot spot with a loaded question, but you spoke to something in terms of access to strong internet. And later on in the conversation, we're going to talk about partnerships and how it is that if you can't manage the expense or you don't have that access where you are, where you can find it. So that's great. Thank you so very much. I'm going to pivot from you to Carleen because you mentioned, right, so you got to do something. You got to try something in order to have anything happen. If nothing moves, nothing changes. So Carleen, let me put it on you. Certainly, if you're an interesting personality, walking around with a camera on you is content. But what do you think people, Jamaicans in particular, need to look out for? Jareer members in particular need to do to have creative content? How can they win at that content war?
Well, hi everyone. Thanks for having me. One of the first things I always talk about is who is it for? That's the thing. Who is it for? Who is your audience? That's the first thing you have to figure out. Once you know your audience, then you can start to think about what you will do for them. Mm-hmm. I mean, for us, when we say us, I mean the music industry, the creative industry in Jamaica. We always say Jamaica is very small. If we were supposed to depend on Jamaica and making everything cool, yes, it would be cool, but will it make you money? We always want to get outside of Jamaica, outside of the island, which is where we think that the money is, right? So if that is your audience, getting to them is what are they looking for right now? Maybe you're thinking about that, or maybe just want to be authentic and be yourself, and this is who I am and this is what I'm giving. So one of the first things I would say is, who is your audience? You know, is if it's, as Walter says, do something, get active. If it's just the 100 people or the 3 million people on your IG, well, they may be there for a reason already. So you're going to do more of that. Or maybe you're going to pivot and do something a little different. You know, what is it that your audience is more appreciative of? Mm-hmm. And in my world, it also becomes quality. Maybe it's just you on a camera and you're running around and it's the latest iPhone, or maybe it's a proper full of production where you need M1, or, you know, it's how big are you going based on what you have? I mean, we're talking to Darien members now, so we're talking to a wide, you know, cross section of people who may start with your camera, start with your phone, if it is that's what you have, and if it is that you or your family or something like that is going to become the content. But specifically, if we're talking about the artists and artists who already have a following, we can speak to them more, and they know already that everything has to have a visual. Mm-hmm. You know, if you're releasing a song, you should really drop the visual the same day or soon. You know, you want to think about that, even if it is a small thing, just a lyric video. You know, let's start simple. If it's just a lyric video, so things like that. But I mean, my concern for everyone is the audience, building the audience. How do you build the audience is a question that I probably would want to put out there. And I know that's a question that a lot of the people watching want to know, because they may have content, but how do they build an audience? So my concern is always like, who is it for and how do you build that viewing?
Thank you, Carleen. I take those points very wisely. And since I don't have an answer to that question, I'm going to speak to an expert in marketing that can help people build audiences, and that goes to Taro. So, Taro, let me put you now in the hot seat in terms of building an audience. And I know you have a solution to a problem that Walshy highlighted. We're going to get to that later on. But first, I want to build my audience. How do I even figure out who my audience is?
Well, thanks for throwing me into the hot seat, Carleen, and greetings to all the panelists and that are tuned in. Carlette, that's a good question, and Carleen touched on some of it, and so did Walshy. So let's face it, we're in an unusual situation that a lot of us back in March thought was going to be a couple of weeks. We are literally 8 months, 9 months in. And I don't really see a lot changing before the year is out and into the first or second quarter of 2021. So we're stuck, and we need to be honest with ourselves. I think a lot of us are like, oh, yeah, man, we soon go back to the way it was. I don't think we're ever truly going to go back to the way it was. But what we can do is look at the opportunities that are here for us now. And one of those is people are stuck in the same place, and that is on their screens. So whether it is your phone screen, your laptop, a lot of people are casting now to their TVs. What can you deliver for them? As Carleen said, the key is knowing your audience, knowing your demographic. That is also at our fingertips now on social. Go into your insights, guys. Go see who is on your your followings. Go and see who's there. You can. It will break it right down for you. It will tell you what city, what country, what age, male, female, what time they're consuming most. We're in a good place with that stuff. So where before you might have been guessing, you can pretty much go and look and see who, where, when, and what is it they want. Look at when you post, what is it that they're gravitating most to? Mm-hmm. So if you're like a good example, and I think Carleen kind of alluded to it a little bit, but Wayne and Tommy pivoted. Come on, great job, fantastic job. They realized that the stuff they were doing just organically, people really liked it. They were authentic. They're not perfect. Their kids are all over the place. We love it. We love it. And it has, though they haven't gone and said, okay, you have to pay to see me at 6 o'clock. What they've done is they've gone out, they've created their YouTube channel. People are on, and guess who's come along for the ride? Sponsors,
yes.
right?
We're going to talk about the specifics of monetization, but first I want to jump to Johnny now. Johnny, you have a clearly defined audience. You were doing lives long before even the pandemic, and you continue to offer a product that people like, enjoy, and participate in. What platforms work best for you?
Thanks, Kanye. Hello, everybody. Big up on yourselves. Well, you spoke so eloquently about it that it made it seem like I was doing this huge thing prior to.
That's how you make it look. You make it look good.
Yeah, we obviously tried to use up our Facebook page and other pages, and there are people who are doing tremendous work and having much more success than I am. My operation was really focused on pay at the gate and drink at my bar kind of setup. I mean, that was really what I was focused on prior to COVID-19 hitting. Even my entire physical setup of a space that I started to invest in prior to COVID was to try and get even deeper into that side of the business. However, with COVID-19, what I've had to do is to look for that space to becoming my studio and to be the space that I can record or go live from, and even offer that space to other persons who may want to do the same thing. So we have to open up the income stream opportunities by literally saying, okay, we really can't put people in there to watch a show. That's against the law these days. So we have to record shows or go live with our shows and make linkages with other companies, broadcast, stream companies, and then try and earn that way. It's not necessarily working out the best in terms of earning. That's going to take some consistency. And you really trying to learn more about the market, like Tara was referring to. So we do look at the market as following us, and we see that my market is, I do have a local presence, a strong local presence, but I also have the diaspora that I see places that I travel to. So in those big cities that I normally go to do my shows in, that producers from those cities would call me and book me to go to, the New Yorks and the Torontos. Those cities are the places that I tend to make linkages with those very same producers or people that are in those cities to say, hey, help me to promote this. I know people may want to see this. And that's how I get some strength from overseas. But it's really a consistency out of work that needs to be put in. The marketing of the product it takes like tremendous work. And the more you can get assistance to market your product, then that's when you see better returns. And that's what I'm trying to do now, is to improve my marketing, improve the quality of the product at the same time, and also use the space that I have to offer to other creatives who may want to use the space and then get product out as well.
Sounds like you found a great solution. You streamline a number of things that can help. And Saeed, I have a technical question for you, but first I want to jump to Walshy. Walshy, for someone like Johnny who has a setup, right? He has his content, he has everything he needs to do to push it out. What platforms do you recommend that people use? I mean, there is PayPal, there's all sorts of different payment platforms. Which ones do you think will work best for the audiences?
Okay, so I think the question is, where is your audience already? Right? So, for instance, Johnny has a big Instagram following and most likely has a big Facebook following. So it makes sense that he delivers on those particular platforms. Now, there's other platforms, but the people have not migrated over to them. For instance, I believe that we are also streaming this live on Twitch. And Black people just ain't on Twitch yet. And so you'll go to Twitch and you'll see speckles of people supporting, but just go where the people are. I've been able to have great success with Twitch, but only because I've been able to have sponsorship. And another one was called Mixcloud. I've been able to get those platforms involved. I've been able to get those platforms on board so that they can highlight, which is what they call front paging. They can front page your stream so that when people just click onto Twitch, them just go on Twitch, your event is what they're seeing. So the sound classes that I was doing, I was having success on my own, but then I was able to partner with Twitch and get them to front page me. But that being said, everyone should go where their potential audience already is. Make it easier on yourself.
Certainly, that's a good suggestion. Looking at Twitch, YouTube, and a couple of others, they have a partnership program already in place. But for content creators on Facebook and Instagram, there are less direct money opportunities. You really have to look to sponsorship. Is that so?
Yeah, absolutely. Facebook is just catching up. Instagram doesn't give a fuck. Instagram doing business. They're like, yo, we don't care about you. We're not partnering with you. And Swiss Beats is like one of the few. I mean, let's be honest, Swiss Beats might be one of maybe 5 people that Instagram has partnered with. Instagram truly, I don't think wants us there, or has not been able to figure out how to make people comfortable there. But we have to, you know, until a Black person makes their own platform that we can all go use and say, hey, this is where we are on Instagram. But Facebook is catching up. Facebook just started their own pay-per-view event system, of which I'll be doing my first event, December the 6th, Sound Clash. You guys, go get your tickets now. It's going to be 2 big sounds and 1 big lawn on the internet. And I'll be able to come back with feedback on how Facebook's pay-per-view program is. But for pay-per-view events, I was using an external platform. A platform that you literally sign up for and people have to go to outside of all of these social media platforms that we're talking about. It was kind of like renting an amphitheater, renting a stage kind of thing. So I've been able to have some ups and downs. I've gone through it through every single platform. And again, I continue to learn every single day. And the only thing I can say for sure is that Instagram just does not seem to be into people giving entertainment on their platform. They don't seem to sponsor nor partner with anyone.
Yes. Well, let's hope that we learned from you today as well. And Tara, let me get back to you. Even though many of these platforms like Facebook and Instagram don't offer a direct payment opportunity the way YouTube does, would you say that there's still value in putting some sort of content on those platforms that you can generate more eyes, build your brand, get sponsorship?
Sure. So, in reference to what Walshy just spoke about, Facebook has started a pay-per-view, so you can charge. They started that back in August, and it was a quick pivot for them based on what they saw happening. People going live all the time on their platforms. So they chose Facebook because they always had Facebook Watch there, and most people do that there. In partnering with Facebook for Sumfest, that was a question I asked, what Walshy spoke about, having Instagram integrated. And the answer for me there directly from them was that they wanted Instagram to remain organic. So in the sense that they really wanted you to be coming from your phone. They didn't want it to feel as if it was a setup and not organic, even though people have been using OBS, as you would have heard Shango refer to really do that. They turn a blind eye to it, but they really don't want it. As he said, they don't want that on their platform. They want it to feel as if it is live, and you're just using your phone and you're not really going around the system, so to speak. But there is value, of course, absolutely, as we've seen the internet, quote unquote, broken quite a few times, over COVID, between D-Nice, it actually going down, him going live. I think Tory Lanez also ended up getting blocked. A lot of people, because they had so many people on at any given time. So you may not be able to monetize it by saying, okay, pay to come, but we've seen a lot of our DJs do it. Cash App, PayPal, dropping their stuff at the top and then being able to collect some money by being live on those platforms. So it is possible that you don't have a immediate charge, but you can pick up money and pick up some payments going that way, and then just putting your payment platform right there at the top, pinning it to the top.
Okay. For content creators who don't want to get involved in PayPal or any of those payments, they just really want to build it. And I throw this out to the entire panel. Which platform do you think is the easiest one? The point of entry, the bar is like this low, and they can just go in and maybe make a quick buck?
I would say Instagram. Because I think most persons that are in that demographic that are watching and tuning in are going to be on Instagram. However, I really would not leave out Facebook, because a lot of persons who are, let's just say, able to afford things are on Facebook, and they will spend. Instagram people just want lay and watch and enjoy themselves.
Okay.
Are you know, they're gonna be able to spend a buck, and they will look at giving a dollar for some quality entertainment or what they want to see.
Okay.
So I want to leave that out at all. And let's not forget OnlyFans for those persons.
Yeah.
Have another
Right there too.
essence of the
Platform, another platform.
Yes.
So I'm gonna jump in, even though I'm moderating. My pet peeve when it comes to live streams. Obviously, I prefer being there where I can feel the sweat and smell the weed and all of that. But if I can't cast it to my smart TV, I'm less inclined. So Instagram is really cool. The screen is this big, but maybe because I wear glasses, I want it on my big screen TV. And I find YouTube is a great platform for that. Does anyone on the panel have experience in terms of how it is that their fan base consumes the content in terms of a preferred platform? Johnny, you want to jump in there?
Well, real quick, I did a bunch on YouTube. I was doing the clashes weekly on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
YouTube is actually not the easiest access point for I think a lot of the content that we do. They have a lot of rules, a lot of restrictions. You can make money there. You can get through tips. They actually have a internal chat tipping thing. I can't remember the name of it. But it's not the easiest. It's not the best, and it's a struggle. I find that a lot of going live doesn't work there. I find that recording things and then uploading them after does work.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's my personal experience with YouTube.
Well, so you make an excellent point. Which platform is better for the user versus the content creator? And importantly, rights management. So if you don't mind, panel, I'm going to pivot now from monetizing streaming to how it is that we handle copyright infringement. Well, she just alluded to the fact that YouTube is very restrictive in terms of their copyright, Instagram as well. So when DJs are playing music, what's your DJ? Let's start with you. And some DJs put up, I do not own the rights to this music. Lots of gym instructors, lots of churches, lots of people. I do not own the rights to this music. Is that enough? Or is there something more that content creators need to be aware of?
No, that's all that you can do as a content creator. There's nothing else you can do. And it's really up to the discretion of the algorithm to find you and take you down. There's lots of rumors of ways to sneak around this policing, and people say talk all over the song, or use lots of sound effects, or stop the song every 30 seconds and then say something. But I do believe your best bet is to find a platform that is allowing you to do what you want to do freely, and that is Twitch, and that is Mixcloud. Facebook is very vigilant as well with taking down things, and it can be very discouraging. It can really disrupt momentum, and so I find that I just go where people want me to be, and Twitch and Mixcloud, when it comes to playing music, want me there, and then I use the platforms, as everyone in the chat said earlier, to point people to that particular place.
Okay.
So that's how you kind of work the system until we get to the point where you're allowed to get on a partnership deal or get, as we say, white. I can't remember the word again. Whitelisted, yeah, man.
Yes. Which we have problems with on another level, but we'll leave that.
Yeah, man. Whitelisting means that they allow you to play whatever you want to play, whenever you want to play, without any issues. And that's a difficult thing for everyone to get. You really have to build up an audience to get there. But you can do it. You can do it.
It's possible. Cool. So Carlene, as someone who has handled this kind of thing, rights management with productions, can you chime in? And just before you chime in, I'll add that there are clients that I have worked with that have problems posting their own content on their channel because the channel, well, let me rephrase. An artist may not own the track. It might be the producer. So Carlene, can you give us some insight on that?
Actually, for me, a lot of the things I've worked on have had like major companies involved, and we haven't run into that. Actually, a lot of the stuff that has been successful even has been a lot of the stuff where the artists are performing, similar to us, Sumfest, or I'm sure a bunch of things that maybe Saeed has done. Those kinds of things. I just did a big thing with Digicel. A lot of the things that are even getting traction aren't really live, if you know what I mean. So it's actually pre-recorded. It feels live when you're watching it, but it's not live like that. So a lot of the things about the rights and stuff can be dealt with. So we're not going live and it's like you're playing a song, Bob Marley or something that doesn't belong to you. But we have run into those things. For example, what I did the Digicel One Love concert, and for that we did a lot of pre-recorded stuff with artists all over the world, literally all over the world.
Yes.
I went I kind of did a very basic kind of setup because I wanted to do something that was easily replicated in different countries where, they may not have all the things that we have, would go hard in Jamaica. So, but what I had run into, for example, is just playing something from Bob, which was something that was submitted officially to us, but it was flagged. But because we were running those things before the official launch, we were able to get those things dealt with through Universal, through those things. So for us, I haven't actually been in a situation where I had to take something down or have something flagged or something like that, because I've been in the situations where we had those rights dealt with before. But I know here we're talking a lot about people who are watching probably trying to do their kinds of things. But I know a lot of the things that we do here are really things that are kind of a little bigger, so meaning, the Versus or the Sumfest or the those kinds of things where we're really now talking to people who are really trying to kind of start up their own kind of thing, which is a little different, which is why I'm happy that Walshy's talking to some of those things about Twitch and how to get on and things like that, because I think most of the people watching maybe in that category. So for me, I have not run into that, but I do believe a lot of the people here would be, it's going to be important if you're going to be trying to do things that don't include your own personal work.
Content. Okay. So premiere over live on YouTube and all of these things, as in you have recorded content that is premiered versus live. We're going to talk about that in our technical segment. But Johnny, have you ever had a copyright flag? And for the benefit of our audience, please know that there's a difference between a copyright strike and a flag. And correct me if I'm wrong, the strike means that after 3 strikes, you're out. They take you down completely. They pull down the video. You have no access. Whereas a flag is, hey, by the way, you use content that you can't monetize this on. We're going to pay it over to someone. So, Johnny, have you ever been flagged?
Yes, actually, I've had a flag before. We had my son and I did a video of my performance at the Rebel Salute, and he, as my editor, he had found a song that he thought was perfect for some intro piece that I was doing, and that piece got flagged. But outside of that, I've never been flagged. We just did produced a show for credit unions of Jamaica, and one of the issues that we had to deal with was the fact that we had a live performance from artists, from a national artist here in Jamaica, and so we had to make sure that we contacted the relevant authority here in Jamaica to ensure that everything was on the up and up. And because we had done that, we were able to have the concert done pre-recorded and then posted it live. So that was cool. And so having dealt with that one time, we decided that going forward, we're going to try and make that approach if we need to, because a lot of what I do is stand-up comedy, or from that angle. So for instance, I've already recorded my own intro music. So we own that, and we can play that between acts. So I don't necessarily have to play secular songs out there. So we're kind of controlling that by having our own products, so that we can inject those products in terms of music in the show. We're more focused on the comedic content, and so we don't get into issues of copyright. One of the things I'm looking to do is to put more of my content out there on YouTube so that we can build up the page. But one of the things I mean, I know it's kind of crazy. Some people, I had a website before. And so I thought to myself, what are we going to do if we have the website? We spend some money to invest in it. Why don't we still try and direct people to the website as well, using the Facebook and using the Instagram numbers that we do have to try and direct people to the website. And one of the things I've done to is improve that website to the point now where I can actually go and put up my shows on the website as well and monetize it from there. So through Cash App. So now, to a simple post, I can just tell people to go to my website, johnnylineproductions.com, and watch the comedy event, and you can pay from there. So again, I'm just trying to make it easy for us and focused on what we offer in terms of a kind of a unique niche product. It's not music necessarily, but it's really about getting people to focus on finding it.
That's great. And I firmly believe that having your own domain is important. So yes, it's great that you're on all of the platforms, but at the end of the day, you need to have your own domain. And in doing research on all of our presenters, we all know each other and so forth. I did realize how many of you all have your own website. I was least bit surprised, but I hadn't been to the website, so I'm happy that we all do. Let me pivot from that and talk about scaling. Let's talk about scaling, because Carleen had alluded to the fact that a number of the productions that she has been involved in have been with major companies and stuff, and there was an opportunity to get those rights management sorted. And then Walsh mentioned that, hey, maybe your thing is just you and your camera. So Syed, this is where you're going to jump in now and talk to us about the different levels of live stream that we can participate in, that we can then turn around and monetize.
Thanks, and greetings to everyone. Well, you have different levels dependent on where you are. As I think Carleen had said, a more well-known artist might want his visuals to be top of the top, in which he might want multiple angles, graphics included, visual effects, and then maybe if you're just at one DJ or a musician, it might just be a camera or it might just be a phone. So I think at the basic level, streaming is the knowledge of broadcast, and streaming itself is just another platform in which we're broadcasting to. So I guess the most basic level would be your phone, and that's going straight to your platform. If you want to take it up a notch, it would be a camera. And this is now going into the hardware, which is a little bit different from what Aishango presented. It would be a camera, a capture card, and a capture card is what we use to interface the camera to our laptop or to our computer. And then from there, we use what we call an encoder. And then this encoder is like the vMix or the OBS or live stream, and this encoder interfaces between you and the destination platform. And I mean, with everything else, the higher the production value is, the more complicated it gets a little bit, or the more equipment and human resource you may need. So if you're going from one camera to 3 cameras, and what does that mean for 3 cameras? You need something now to connect all 3 cameras to switch the camera angles. If you're going from, I never mentioned audio. On audio, you have to think about your audio source as well. For a very small scale, I see a lot of people using this thing called iRig. iRig, you can essentially plug like one instrument in and it interfaces it. But then you do have more expensive audio interfaces. You have Focusrite, you have Apollo. And then, so as I said, it really depends on the scale of it. Yeah.
So let's talk in actual terms, yes. At the beginning of the pandemic, before we kind of knew everything that was going to be happening, there were 2 live streams that I noted specifically. One was Agent Sasko. He had a live stream from the studio in his house, which was excellent, full of vibe, and he was really cool. But then I also saw where Chris Martin had a stream, and he had done it, I think, on the balcony of his home, and he had the entire Kingston backdrop. So when we're looking at scale, and then you have like a Sumfest production, or like what Kylie did recently with Digicel, which is like a multi-location. Are those the kind of scales that we should be looking at?
Well, I think it depends on I mean, it depends on many things. I said before, what's your audience? What's your scope for this particular project? Where are you in your professional, where are you in this professional journey? I mean, if you do want to go, I feel like at the basic level, we must always try and push ourselves creatively. So even if we don't have the hardware or the particular software, at least we know we have a good backdrop. We have decent lighting, or visibility is always important, and we have decent audio coming through. Audio that the audience won't be like cringing about.
Yes,
You know that it's clear. And then, as I said, if it becomes even more a bigger scale, then now you have to get into more lights. If you have a band, that make sure you have to ensure that all of your band is visible. I was speaking to Johnny earlier actually, and I told him what I realized is that over the period, more of the people who have a creative direction or who have a director more like working with them and who was kind of on the same vision as them, the audience responded better to it, because now you have, I mean, we're thinking more about what are the people seeing on screen. So as I said, even if you don't have 4 cameras, at least you know you have a particular intro that the camera might have to go close on. You have a particular part in the performance where it's a guitar solo, you know that you want to focus on the guitar solo. You might have a particular part in the set where the artist say mix, and the pace start get faster. So now you know, say, whoever is controlling your camera angles have to start cut it faster. But that's kind of the way we have to think. So even if we can't afford the perfect setup, it's about understanding what the audience responds to, and also trying to be creative in a way so we can execute it.
Which brings us to Carleen and Tara in terms of creativity and audience. But let me first say that anything that come out of Jamaica have to sound good, right? We have too many really remarkable professionals out there for it not to sound the best. Having traveled the world, I think that we are hands down the best. So let me start with Carleen in terms of creative content, and how is it that you would help your clients make it that much more creative so that people are inclined to look at it? And then let me pivot over to Tara to say, well, if my creativity is this and my budget is that, how do I then fill that gap?
Okay, so getting people to look at it obviously is what we all want, right? Again, I speak more from the musician side, and right now a lot of musicians, of course, are struggling, right? Because especially the players of instruments, there's no touring, there's none of that. The artists themselves are probably a little bit okay, but definitely players of instruments are a little bit more harder hit. One thing I want to mention, which is not a part of the question, is the fact that we ourselves do not have this marketplace, this place where we all gather, even as Caribbean people or even as Jamaicans, right? So we are struggling to get that people to look in. We don't have this thing where you can just call onecaribbean.com and say, I want 8 o'clock on Wednesday night, and you know that the Caribbean login. We just don't have that. And that's a struggle for us. So in terms of getting people to look, it's already a struggle. So how do you now make it as creative as possible? That's what we really want to bring to the table at all times. How to make it interesting, how to make it different. Again, we talked about the different levels. If it's just one pan knocking and that's just what it is, it's just, it's interesting and it's one pan knocking with this man just doing this one thing. Or if it is just something with different camera angles and 4 cameras, and we have the jib and the dolly and the Steadicam, and we have movement. And sometimes, seriously, we don't understand, the viewer sometimes doesn't understand, why does this look different or why does this look more interesting? It is we behind the scenes that have to bring it, you know? So sometimes you have to push clients a little bit to be like, you know, you just really want the dolly, but please just let's do something a little more interesting, because it is going to work out better in the end. Because sometimes they feel like, no man, we're good with just this. And you're like, just let's do it, because we know that it brings an element. Movement brings an element. People are, you know, we want to see movement, even if it's just a shift in the camera sometimes, because it's not the news. It's not that straight 100%. You know, today in the news, you know, we have to let people understand that we want a little shake in the camera, we want a little movement, we want to feel like we're there. So those are some of the things definitely when it comes to the camera work, the technical. Of course, the way you look is a thing too, which is always something. And then, of course, I know I'm talking about those things that have more of a little budget, when you can say, you know, let's get this and let's get that and let's get some elements in. But a lot of the things that we do we have to think about the look. Whatever the guy is saying, and if he's rhyming and if it's good, we can have a small spread that becomes viral. And okay, become viral saying a thing and you and your mother in the streets, but is that monetized? And is that what we're talking about? No. So if you are trying to do what we are talking about, you have to invest a little bit in it, which really will mean your mother, your sister, your friend, you know, getting it together and really trying to make it presentable. So that's definitely what is on camera. I always say, spend the money on what I'm seeing in the frame. I know I still have to feed you and get you there and all those things, right? But I want to see the dollars in what I'm looking at. So those are the things. What is behind you? What you're wearing? What's in front of you? But also, what are you saying? Let's talk about that, right? What is it that you're talking about or saying or making it interesting? We alluded before to Tammy and Wayne, who are making something interesting with their lives, just there as they are. The Virgos have done it now, and lots of different YouTubers have been doing it for a particular consumption, which is YouTube. But again, some of the stuff that Walsh talking about is more immediate, so that wouldn't be that kind of thing. So you have to think in terms of, again, I always come back to the audience and then what is in your picture. If it's 4 cameras, that's great, but if it's boring on 4 cameras, it's no good. I prefer 1 camera and something interesting. So it's a lot of elements that go into that. Sometimes you don't think you need the me and the Saids and the Taras, but you kind of need
you do, without a doubt. That's a perfect way to put it. So Tara's going to come in just a moment to let me know how it is that we bridge the gap. And then I'm going to ask Walsh as a DJ. Certainly the music is the most important thing, but then how it is that DJs can update their live streams. Then we're going to open the floor to questions after we pivot to marketing. So I just want to give everybody an update as to where we are. So Tara, I want to work with Carleen in terms of my production, but you know, my budget is this. Do I turn to sponsorship?
Yes, you can, but also the sponsors themselves, especially for us locally, are too suffering, and we don't think about that. You know, people aren't going out, so alcohol is not selling like it used to. You know, the party's not there, the dance now keep. You know, people who normally would have you return to for a little help here and there, but exactly what Carleen said, there are scales, guys. And so, you know, like for instance, I've been working a lot on budget stuff, and you may have a big thing like an Amazon which you partner with, and they go on a Twitch. But then we also did, you know, that Jamaican song video. We literally did that with 1 camera, and we all got in a car and drove across Jamaica, because we're like, we don't have the money, government don't have the money, but we, you know, we have to come good. So you can do that. And that's one of the benefits of being here. So we have different scenery. You can drive 20 minutes and it look different than where you were, you know, 15 minutes ago. So take a camera with you, even if it's your own, change up the scenery, deliver something. Carlene spoke a lot about the players of instruments. Come, get out there, take your drums, go out in a field, deliver the music, put your music under it, edit it, and put it on as a premiere. You know what I mean? We have to get creative because it's not going to come to us. We have to go and get it. That's where we are.
We got to go and get it. Well, as a DJ, how can DJs improve the creativity, the visual creativity of their stream? So I know our DJs are really good in terms of selecting the music. How do they up their game in terms of the visuals?
Oh yeah, definitely. Because I think all of us have probably seen some of the worst online DJing when it comes to presentation wise, right? I mean, like Saeed said earlier, some of them don't even have the iRig, which makes it very difficult to hear because you have to put the speaker next to the phone, and it's just wah 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 wah. But I do believe that there are a few people that have led the way. Follow that lead. Get yourself an iRig or a way to plug directly to the phone. Get yourself a few lamps, a few lights. Make your background as lovely as this one here. This nice little off green, yellow, something. And figure out a way to engage, figure out a way to make people stay. And I think Tara, I think everyone has said something. Saeed and Tara, I think, really, really touched it, which is, if you cannot do it yourself, communicate and collaborate. Okay? Let people know, hey, I don't have a background. My Wi-Fi is not good. I need help. I don't own an iRig. Somebody must have one. Let me just communicate to the world via my social networks, and then collaborate. Also, let people know what you offer. What do you offer that you can help, that someone can collaborate with you? I think that's the only way we're going to get a scale, as the question previously was. I think that's the only way we're going to scale in these times, because we're not able to go out and buy or get money to go and buy things. Somebody might have something that we don't have, and we might have something that someone else doesn't have. So this is the perfect time to actually build a actual true community. And so communicate and collaborate. And I think that that's what Saeed was really hitting on, and Tara followed up with, and everyone else has also said. And I think that's the only way to really see ourselves through this, and then be able to, be prepared for however long this lasts.
It's too long. Communicate and collaborate. I have written that down because we need to remember that. And that's part of Jaria's mandate, to make sure that the community can lean on each other in order to do well. Thank you so very much, everyone. Now, we're going to take some questions from Facebook and Instagram. But before we do, I wanted to just read out a list that Dwayne put together, a fabulous list of different live stream events that have been successful locally and internationally. So if you're watching us on Facebook or Instagram or Twitch, of course, please put some sort of emoji in the comments. Of course, we all remember Versus, yes? Yeah? Give me a torch if you love that one. Of course, Johnny Live has been doing a number of events called Johnny Live. Check those out on Facebook. Freddie McGregor did a live. Capleton did a live. The Scatterlights did a live. So that shows you that it's not just, it's a diverse range of artists, yes? We're looking at Sumfest. They had a multi-day live event that we all watched. Appleton had a live event. I believe that was also multi-day, very rich, very textural, very appealing to the eyes as well as the ears. The Digital Live series, which Carlene mentioned, was on a scale unprecedented, I think, based on just the sheer number of touch points that they had. So Sumfest and Appleton had a really remarkable setting that the artists performed at, whereas Digital Live went out and had a number of artists come together in different locations. So that took quite a bit of work. Bob Marley Foundation and D Music had a live event related to Digital. Magnum had a live. I missed that one. Did you see it? Did you see it? Please put an emoji up in social media. Now, I didn't get to go to Uppsala this year and Reggae Jam, but they had a paid live event, which was very successful. I believe they're the only two European concerts that had a live this year. Of course, the Quarantine Clash series, that was huge. Tony Matterhorn had a song clash series, which was good as well. Dufton did Unhinged. There were the Sunday Live series with Maury. Mixing Lab had a live DJ party. Oh my goodness, there were so many. This is why I can't sleep at night, because I'm obviously up watching all of these lives. 1 Yard Live, Irie Jam Radio had a big live. I remember that, sponsored by the Census Bureau. So see how sponsorship can make some things happen. That's great. The RGR Fame live every Saturday. I remember when it started, I was vexed because I'm like, I don't want to stay at home and listen to music. I want to go out. But alas, that went out as well. And there are many others. I'm going to stop now so that we can answer the questions. And then we can talk about some of the local service providers, because, ladies and gentlemen, there is opportunity here for us to communicate and collaborate. You don't always have to go overseas. Our first question from Facebook. If you are starting out with no following, should you just ignore the possibility of getting a sponsor and instead spend your time on building a following? Tara, you want to take that one? I see you nodding. Johnny, I see you nodding. Who wants to go first?
Yes, that sounds absolutely right to me. There is no option for a sponsorship situation there, because the sponsors, really, guys, what's for sale is our eyeballs. Okay? If you don't have any eyeballs watching, the sponsors aren't going to be there. So you have to build your audience. And if you remain true to what it is that you're doing, don't try to be everything to everybody. Find your little niche and tuck in and just build that audience. So the person is absolutely right.
Tara or Johnny, I see you both nodding. Who wants to chime in?
No, Carly nailed it. If you have like 3 followers, then I wouldn't.
Wouldn't even try.
A sponsor, no, because they.
What about calling yourself a sponsor? So I'm DJ Carlet, and I also happen to have a clothing store. Yeah. So I want to do my live sponsored by Carlet's Clothing Store.
Yeah.
And both Instagram, Facebook allows for you to put a paid in collaboration with, and you can just put your store there and send people to there, send them back to you, as in, but monetary wise, I would not think it would be possible for a sponsor to come on and give you either product or cash with a low following.
Johnny, do you think people look more legit when they have sponsors, no matter who the sponsor is?
Absolutely, you look more legit, but the ladies are absolutely right. I mean, if you have little numbers, what you need to do is to improve your content in terms of scale. So keep improving your content and coming with the numbers. Also, what that does, even if a sponsor doesn't necessarily sponsor that show that you're doing directly, the sponsor, by virtue of looking at the work that you're doing, will say, hey, I like this talent, and you may be able to get work on that side of the end as well. So it's not just about sponsoring the event, but people will be looking at the talent and say, okay, I can pick this person and put them in a product that I'm promoting, I'm pushing. And that's one way to earn as well.
Lovely, that's good. We do have some other questions on Facebook, but first I want to defer to our organizer, Dwayne. Dwayne, I know you have a question for the panel. You want to shoot it out?
Yeah, man. Discussion going great so far, by the way. So I put in on my artist manager hat now. I manage Kabaka Pyramid. So I've been doing a lot of research, looking on the landscape. We just read out a whole lot of different live events that have been happening. Maybe 10% of them were paid ticketed events. Most of them were free streamed events, whether sponsored or just for the purposes of building a brand to earn revenue outside. I wanted to find out what's the thoughts on ticketed events, people paying them hard-earned money for a live stream event, a live stream concert, a live stream party, and what we as the industry need to do to ensure that we're delivering a product that people will pay for. People will definitely tune into live stream, Polar Vibes, digital tipping as well. She did also YouTube super chat and these things. But it's very interesting to me that since COVID, as an artist doing a paid live show, I personally only know of Capleton, Freddie, the Scatterlights, and I believe Pressure Bus Pipe. And there's a whole heap of artists now on the show right now. So I found that interesting. So I wanted to find out the pulse of everyone here on paid events and how that plays into everything.
Yeah, man. Well, I could probably speak on the music side of it. Johnny and some of the other people can definitely speak on the other aspects of entertainment. It's dancehall has we've hustled dancehall for too long, and you see when you hustle something, when it's time to put a value to it, value ends up being extremely low, and so you'll see that not everyone is able to do a live performance online and get anyone to watch because they have hustled dancehall. They haven't really invested in dancehall. They haven't really put together something that people would pay a $5, $10 to see. And that I think is the best part of this whole Corona thing, is that it pretty much pulls the covers off of a lot of things that we've covered up to not talk about. It's time to talk about a lot of things that the discussion can only improve the industry. And so these kind of conversations, let's just be honest, they weren't really happening before coronavirus. And now we're able to have regular panel discussions because the people here care, the people watching care. And so I've done a lot of live streams, and then I've done one particular pay-per-view. But I took about I took about 5 months to build an audience, to gain their trust, to have them believe that what I was going to give them was quality. And then I presented the pay-per-view concept, and I was able to get 800 people to pay to watch a sound clash. That is amazing. With the pay-per-view concept, you also continue to give free content. You continue to give them things. You don't pull away fully, but there is a balance. And at some point, once you see that the people agree that there's a value to what you're doing, because the sound man, them, the dub plate still have to cut. That's not cheap. All of these things, people still have to spend money. So we wanted to put together something that first gain the trust of the people, and then eventually ask them to partner in with us. We didn't ask them to buy a ticket. We asked them to partner in with us and participate and be a part of something that we believe was historic. And a lot of people said, yeah, man, if it costs me $5 for this membership, $10, I'll partner in. And we have another one coming up in December. And it's going to probably be the majority of those same people, and hopefully an additional couple hundred people, because now we've gained more trust. That one went very well. They are going to come back, and we can go forward now and grow this online sound clash brand that we've worked about 8 months, 8-9 months working on. It's not an overnight thing for sure, but if you're not trying to invest, you're not going to see the rewards from doing a pay-per-view alive.
Something that I'd like to say is to the point is, I'm just thinking about any artist now. They have to look within their organization and see what they can do. For example, they're used to a promoter paying them, right? And they're performing, and that's it. Now they have to think. They have to kind of be a part of the promoter kind of thing, right? No promoter is going to get up and give you so and so $100 for a possible stream that may or may not. So there are two kinds of situations. It could be that a Sumfest or Upsala or so on, they could decide to pay the artist like they normally would, and they go out and do the pay-per-view, right? Or it could be that an artist themselves decide to invest and be a part of it. So they're not getting paid upfront, but they're making money on the back end when these people come in to watch. And in that case, then they will have to decide what is the best pay-per-view channel, what is the best streaming, what is the best, so they become a part of that. So I'm just saying to artists out there who may be watching, it's two different things. One may be where, because Sumfest, for example, this time around was not paid, but it could be that Sumfest decide to be paid. And if you want to watch all those artists, you decide what's that worth? Am I going to pay $5, $10, $30 to watch that? That's one thing. But if you as an artist decide that I'm going to put a band together, put a show together, and get the pay-per-view going, then you will have to decide, what are the channels that you're going to use? Who is the pay-per-view outlet and all those things? And then you become a part of that. So to what Dwayne is asking, I think that's kind of some of the questions that we need to start coming up with. If you weren't an artist that is everywhere a pan is knocking, people may be interested in seeing you. People may be interested in paying to see you. So I think all artists watching should think about those two kinds of ways. There will be people who will pay you to appear, which has been happening a lot. I think a lot has been happening even outside of things that we know. I think a lot of artists have been paid for performances. Sometimes it's not so advertised on the Jamaican side, but it's definitely happening. And then some artists will have to definitely think and say, I want to do this for myself and see how many people I can get in the door.
Carleen, you open up a whole new can of worms. So one, artists got to be artists. And if it is that they don't have the ability to be a promoter, put on the show, market it and such, as we were saying earlier, communicate and collaborate, partner with somebody else who can do it. So you are the artist, you'll bring the show and you find a content producer, you find a sponsor, you find a marketer, all of whom are on this panel. So that's great. And before I get to the Facebook question, which also touches on what you mentioned, we're coming from an artist potentially doing 300 shows a year all over the world. You remember those days, people? Wasn't that good? When, you love your family, but you didn't see them for months at a time because you're traveling the world. Oh my gosh, that was great. And now we have this live stream situation where, yes, we can perhaps do a live stream, a paid live stream, one 3 months from now. There's just no way that live stream can fill the gap of our income, or can it? So I put that question out to the panel before we go back to Facebook. Can live streaming replace live shows as our primary income earner?
Well,
Doing shaking his head. Johnny?
What I can tell you is that that's no, that is not doing it right now. It's just like Walshify said, it's really taking some time to pick up. You really have to be consistent to pick it up. Once you find your avenue, then you will have to try to expand that. What we are trying to do is to be so consistent that local sponsors will try to come in and assist. And when you do attract some local sponsors, people want to align their brand with what you're doing based on what you're offering and the quality level that you're offering it at. And that's when you get some more money injected in the process. But I can tell you, I do stand up. The market is very small already in Jamaica, particularly those people who have access to internet and who are used to paying. Because then we do have a phobia in Jamaica as well. If you're looking at the Jamaican market, people using their credit cards to pay online, you have to get over that. Well, people don't trust some of the platforms that you use. It's really, other people spend, it's interesting, they spend the money to get products in, but they don't necessarily pay for creative products so much. But as I said, you really have to market the thing outside of Jamaica to an audience who want that product, but also are used to spending money online. And so I do believe that there's room to grow, obviously, and I don't think that this is going to stop. The virtual part of entertainment, watching and embracing entertainment or enjoying it is going to increase. I think I can't wait to get back on stage to do some live shows. I can tell you that straight up because I love that. But I also think that if you're going to miss out right now, if you don't prepare yourself, you don't continue to try and improve what you offer virtually.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I just wanted to add. I just want to add real quick. Everyone should act as if live shows will never come back again, because it's a true possibility. So don't think that what we think or what we never saw coming with this stoppage of shows, we cannot imagine that it doesn't continue. Just treat it like it will never happen again. Take your online, show them. Just treat it like it will never happen again. And take it very serious. Take your online shows extremely serious. Be consistent, be consistent, be consistent.
Walshy,
let me be like Trump and interrupt.
What
It's
she's
right. It's
true.
brutally
I
right, but I
believe-
don't want to hear that.
No, but I believe some people who are born COVID and after will love live stream. And as a matter of fact, I think virtual reality will also become a big thing. And what we're seeing now is like not even anything. So the whole of that world of virtual reality, you putting on the goggles and everything looking so good. You know, those of us who really know what a concert is like or a party and really want the drink and the thing, we just have to think of that as nostalgia. But I don't think, to your original question, that it may be that you will have 300 shows a year. Definitely not. Because even I think the consumer too, I mean, after you kind of see one artist several times in that kind of live stream
In that
vibe,
format.
like, how many times you really going to watch it for the year? So I think in terms of your question, it won't make up for the kinds of shows that people would have going to niche markets and doing the thing in Australia here, there, and there. But we have to agree with Walsh as well. You kind of have to think in that way.
Yes, we will agree with Walsh reluctantly, but we will. Ladies and gentlemen, before we get back to the Facebook question, let me just leave you with this. If you're old enough to remember a movie called Barbarella, there was a simulated scene in Barbarella because people stopped doing the actual act. And if you don't know what I'm talking about in Barbarella, go look it up. All right, so Facebook. Why do people invest in their live events, but not in their marketing and promotion in the days and weeks before the show? Tara, I'm going to give this one to you. The writer on Facebook says, here in Europe, we miss a lot of Wagwan in Jamaica because there's simply not enough marketing.
I am so glad that person asked the question, because in speaking to what Walshy and Carleen and Johnny said, Johnny especially spoke about it. The fact of the matter is, we've known this all along about our own market here. We don't like to pay for things. We like things for free. We like to figure out a way to get in there for free, whether we're jumping a gate or somebody, you'll see it in the chats, uno have a link. So I don't believe Jamaicans, and some I'm going to get some little hate messages, but I don't believe we should count on our Jamaican market to help us get through, because we don't have it. We're not used to paying for it. And also a lot of us have a stigma about our credit cards online. So those that do have it don't want to put the number out there. Next thing, some scammer, in Bay has wiped off your card and you're trying to get your money back. So target our diaspora, target our European markets. They appreciate, don't get to see it as often or at all. And it's not that hard to do. Again, if we're going and looking on our socials, especially like a Facebook and so on, you can segment. You can put your stuff on. And if you go on and you start to put on your ads, it says to you, why 3 weeks would make this go a lot better than 3 days, And we tend to think, let me just, 3 days, let me just put on this and 3 days. And then you're like, I've gotten 60 people. What went wrong? You went wrong. You need to plan, get your little graphic, your little save the date, put it out there. Google ads. Not that expensive.
Yes.
Say I'm going to spend $100 and target who you want. Target your Canadians, your Jamaicans in Canada, your New York crew, your Florida crew. Target them and get them engaged. Also, ads on our little radio stations, little internet radio stations out there. Not that expensive, guys. It's like $200. Straight to your audience. You have to invest in yourself. You have to invest in yourself in order to reap the benefits. And as Walsh said, build. So do a little something then, throw out your little line, build, grow until you know, hey, I plan to do this December show, but guess what? I'm going to start from August. And I'm going to do my little ads and I'm going to get people onto my page and figure it out. We have to invest in ourselves and we have to invest in our shows. And as artists, we have to realize that things have changed.
Yes. Thank you so much, Tara. And you mentioned Europe. Our last Facebook question is from Europe, but I want to just add that for those of us Jamaicans, and I'll put myself in the category, who are concerned about using credit cards online, guess what? The world has provided us with prepaid cards. So instead of using your legit credit card, what you can use is your almost like a burner phone version of a credit card, prepaid card to pay for these things, and then stop using it as an excuse. For our final question, speaking of Europe, Tara, and the question is to the panel, do you consider all time zones for your listeners in concert times? So if you have listeners in Europe, for example, like us, so the person is obviously from Europe, do you consider the time of the concert for them? So let me throw that to a couple of the content creators, Walshy and Johnny. Do you consider your outside of your time zone audience?
Absolutely. Every single thing I've done has been like, I wouldn't even do this discussion this late. I would have done this discussion at about 2 o'clock because I realized that the UK and Europe and Africa are in love with what we give them. Jamaicans, like, Tara just said, the consumption in Africa and in the UK and in Europe is a huge part of our entertainment sector. And so for us to put on a show when they're asleep at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, I think is a negligent move. And I personally would never do that. I would have done this discussion, I would have done this at 1, 2 o'clock so that they can be involved because I understand how much they want to be involved. And man, Tara hit it on the head. I'm sure as much as she wants to say that, people are going to have something negative to say about what she says, I think everyone totally agrees. And it just has to be said. Like I said before, we have to talk about it. We have to talk about breaking people out of the idea of freeness, because at the end of the day, people are investing into these art forms, and there's a cost with that. And so, yeah, man, we need to make sure so that we do things in a timely manner that the entire world can enjoy. And Japan, I think, is usually waking up. Yeah, man, they're usually like waking up at about 6, 7 a.m. If you do something at about 2, 3 p.m. Jamaica time. So you pretty much get the whole world. And I definitely would encourage everyone to consider Africa and UK and Europe when they're doing their online event.
Yes, world is a big place, and 1, 2 o'clock seems to be a sweet spot. Ladies and gentlemen, possibly we have come to the end of the Q&A. So I'm going to give everyone an opportunity to close with remarks, and I'm going to encourage you to pretend that you're going to just give a soundbite, right? So we're going to keep it tight and sweet, and I'll go in reverse order of how I introduce the panel and give each of you a last word. Tara, I certainly appreciated that you told us to build on our audience. But before we go, what are your final words for our audience now?
You have to change with the times. It's as well she said, and we've all emphasized, this is not going away at the end of the year. So we keep saying we want 2020 to end as if when we wake up on January 1st, it's going to be much. It won't. And, have to invest. And if you just grab a ring light on Amazon, grab a ring light, put your phone in it, give yourself some better lighting, figure out your audience, as I can co-work, and close to what Walshy said, our tagline is connect, create, collaborate. So come on over. We've got blazing fiber Wi-Fi there. We have space for you to do your shows, do your podcast, your stuff. But you have to look at yourself as your own marketer, promoter. What would you do? Don't wait for somebody else to come to you. Go out and get what you want and figure it out and invest in yourself and get it done. And if you need help, reach out. Let people know, and maybe you can exchange stuff like what she said, or you do something for them now and they do something for you. People do have equipment for rent and use one time. Go ahead and spend that 6,000 Jamaican dollars and get yourself a playback machine and make your things sound good. But it's not going to change, and we have to work with what we have now.
Thank you, Tara. That's excellent. And yes, obviously we can go to co-work. When Walter said that some people don't have internet, it's the first thing that came to my mind. Carleen, I appreciated that you told us to spend money on what comes on the screen, but let's have your soundbite moment.
Link up. Everyone link up with each other. I love what everyone has been saying. Communicate, connect, link with each other. Let's see what we can do together. Research, research. Don't think you know it. Don't think you already know it. There's so much happening. There's so much possibilities. If you really just reach out, ask somebody, check it out online, that kind of thing. A lot of research, I think, would help a lot of people who feel that they kind of know it already. No, check it out. Research everything. New things are happening all the time. So connect, communicate, as we've been saying, link up.
Thank you so very much. We've hit our 90-minute mark, but we have so much more to share. So we're going to go to Saeed. You had suggested to us that we should seek pro help. What are your final words for us today?
Well, dependent on the scope, definitely seek pro help. As Caroline said, definitely research. There's always people out there who can give you the advice, so even if you're not using the actual pro help, you're still using the advice of what was given. But I reiterate all that has been said. Communicate, collaborate. I mean, it is important for us to change the culture of how we see business and how we earn and how we work together as well. So definitely.
Thank you so very much. Johnny, you suggested that we capitalize on what we have. I thought that was great advice, but you have more in you. Share it with us, please.
Absolutely. Tara looks like she's peeping in on my small studio because I do have a ring light off Amazon and the phone is in there. I don't look too bad, Tara. I did a great job setting up set and thing. I do have a space that I've been working on, Tara, like you guys with top-notch Wi-Fi right now called Johnny's Place. That really was for being sort of a live entertainment, but now, of course, had to pivot and turn around that into my little studio, which is now a bigger studio. So that's why I'm offering my fellow creatives in theater and stand-up comedy, trying to give them special rates and to work with them because I do have to collaborate with other teams as well. The technical people, I wasn't so technical, deeply technical before. Yeah, no, a bit, but when it comes to the live streaming and all the OBS business, I don't know nothing about that. So I got the necessary help that I needed so that I could achieve that. And so I do agree with everybody else. Communicate. Don't sit in a little corner. We tend in Jamaica to be very competitive. And because we're competitive, we don't want to reach out to people, communicate, collaborate, and learn more about this new time and what you can do to earn more, spend less, but you must spend something on your production and your marketing. That's definitely yes.
Thank you so very much, Johnny. And Walshy, boy, you've been so brutally honest. I'm afraid to give you the last word, but I appreciate that you said we must get in the game and we can't wait if we don't play. What do you have to close us out with today?
Yeah, man, shot. Don't wait till tomorrow. Communicate and collaborate. That's all. That's the far right rule.
Communicate and collaborate. Thank you so very much, everyone. I really appreciate this enlightening discussion. I learned so much, and I'm sure our audience thinks that will say that they learned a lot as well. Before I go, I want to shout out to a number of local providers in the online space. Each of our panelists mentioned how it is that they participate in live stream, but you should also be aware of GT Sound, Ubiquity, First in Line, True Tone, Clear Sound, Starlight, Stream 876, Phase 3, CPTC, and PBCJ are just a short list of the local service providers. We don't necessarily have to go abroad. You don't have your ring light, you can call up any of these people. You don't have the phone that you need. There are a number of local providers if you communicate and collaborate. Thanks again to all our panelists. I want to thank Walshy. I want to thank Johnny Ashango, who had given the video presentation, Saeed, Carleen, Tara, all of you. Such a great job. I want to thank Jaria, the Jamaica Reggae Industry Association, for putting together the Reggae Open University as a mandate, as Dwayne alluded to educate us, because if we're not educated, if we don't know, we are in trouble, and it's important for us to share the information. A special shout out to the wonderful Ibu Cooper from the Education Committee joining us today. Thank you so very much, not just for your work on Jario. But I mean, if you all, you know, Ibu, you know, you can stop him on the street side and say, Ibu, I have this problem. What do you think? And he's happy to give advice. Thank you so much to Ibu. And of course, big shout out to Don McDowell from the advocacy subcommittee at Jaria. I encourage you all as members in the industry to join Jaria because there's so many benefits that can be garnered from that collaboration. Big up to M1 Productions. Thank you, Saeed. Thank you, Javé, for putting this all together. I couldn't go without bigging up my headline team, the crew at Headline Entertainment. Thank you personally for all the support that you've given. We really do appreciate that. And of course, I'm going to remind you, join Jaria. So I will end the way we started with our wonderful host, Dwayne, to take us out. Thank you, everyone. Welcome.
Yes, greetings. Well, I wasn't the wonderful host. The wonderful host was Scarlett, who did an excellent job. On behalf of Jaria, I just want to thank you for that. You know, and thank you as well to M1 Productions, who did all the technical services for this live stream, free of cost, in the interest of the industry. Jaria is all about connecting and collaborating. We represent the interests of the music and entertainment industry. I encourage everyone to join Jaria. Our website is jariajamaicamusic.com, or you can email us at jaria.org@gmail.com. We'll be revamping the website this week, but the membership form is there. Information can be found. And it's all about collaborating. None of us here have the one answer. We all together can find the information, encourage trade, and grow together. So thank you everyone for tuning in. This will not be the first panel discussion, Reggae Open University, and this will be uploaded to Jaria's YouTube page as well. So if you missed it, we'll have your same way. So thank you everyone, and blessed love, you know.
Thank you.
Yes, can't feel you weary, but you got to stay away. Your waistline get dreamy, you couldn't give it a break. You round the world and you rough at Dublin. You heavy skanking and your daylight jamming. How does it feel to have been on the ballroom floor? Or do you feel like you would have rocked some more? Cause I strictly rubber dub show. Hey, and the dub and the wax. Give me your heart and soul.